Hey, welcome to Touchdown Nerdcast with Frank, Jordan, and Andrew, better known as the Pump. Today we're going to be talking about running backs, drafting from the sixth overall spot in a 12-man PPR format, and some news from around the NFL. Um, it
Can we
is,
can we first start with why you're the only one who has a nickname?
yeah, because I earned it. All right. It was also I gave it to myself. So
If you're gonna call yourself Pump, I feel like we can call ourselves whatever we want.
yeah, go for it.
That'll be next podcast. I'll come up with a nickname.
I won't stop you. It is Saturday afternoon. We just got done watching a handful of preseason week one. Um, Thursday there was one or two games. Friday there's 4 or 5 games. A handful of games today. Uh, as of last night, I believe Kareem Hunt was going to visit with the Vikings. And that's particularly interesting because before this moment, Jordan, you are in our keeper league. Our keeper league is called Two Yoked. Um, Frank, Frank just spends the whole
See the
episode
common
shaking his head.
common theme of names here.
And you were initially thinking you would keep Alexander Madison.
Yeah, that's changing if Kareem Hunt signs with the Vikings.
Mm-hmm. Your keepers are due though by midnight tomorrow.
Oh, I'm not good.
So the sooner that news comes out, the better. Um, I think he is a keepable player when he is the lead back, but I don't know if
I don't know that he's.
Kareem Hunt's
I
just
don't know
not going
that
to show up
he's.
and do nothing. He's going to take away targets and carries from Alexander Madison.
Yeah, I don't know if he's keepable at that point. I mean, I think he was a keepable based on volume back. Like I'm pretty sure Frank probably isn't keeping Najee Harris if they added somebody to be the catching back. What's your stance on that, Frank?
Yeah, I mean, half of Najee Harris's value comes from the receiving game, so that would definitely hurt. I don't even like keeping Madison at all. Um, that being said, I think you're better seeking other opportunities, maybe via the trade
Yeah. Oh,
option.
I see
Maybe
what you're
get like
doing.
an Eckler. You can get an Austin Eckler, RB2, and maybe Devontae Smith for
I
Jamar Chase.
I would
That's probably
love
the way to go because you don't have three keepers on your team. This way, it'll give you four keepers, setting yourself up for success. So,
I would love to get Chris Olave and Austin Eckler.
yeah, I mean, I'll keep it PG-13. So, yeah, that would be nice. I'm sure in Dreamland, but
So you don't think Alexander Madison was just looking at what Jordan's roster was? You don't think he was a worthy keeper to begin with?
no, I would have kept J.K. Dobbins over Madison.
Okay.
I may swap that now because J.K. Dobbins can actually catch the ball and Madison doesn't really do that. So if they're going to sign a Kareem Hunt type guy, tells me they're not going to give all the volume to Madison.
Yeah. I mean, I have J.K. Dobbins and Alexander Madison ranked right next to each other.
I think in most of the boards I've seen, they're pretty much like back to back and running back draft too. I think Dobbins has the higher ceiling for sure. He's a better runner. Madison just has more volume. Possible. But Frank always tells me to draft in our baseball based on flashy and high ceiling versus safe. So if I'm going to do that, I'm going to swap Dobbins for Madison.
Is that what you're thinking right now? J.K. Dobbins versus Alexander Madison?
I just think if you're looking to bring in a guy like Kareem Hunt, who's clearly had off the field issues, that they're going to, even if Kareem Hunt's not their guy, maybe they let Madison run the first 2-3 weeks. But if he's not productive, I could see them going to shop for somebody right away.
Right.
So I don't like that security part where like Dobbins, clearly it's his backfield if he's healthy.
Yeah. What was Dobbins' yards per carry last year?
Like 5.6, I think. And it was like 6.8 the year before that.
Yeah. He was a really good carrier on a yards per carry basis with Lamar, but with his injuries and with Lamar being out, did his yards per carry stay good? I can't remember. Yeah.
It's like he came back and ran just as hard and was just as like flashy after his injury as he was before. Where like to me, Madison, like you said, doesn't have that flashy ability. He's just, if they're going to give him the ball 300 times this year, then he'd be worthy to me of being a keeper.
He'd probably still get less than 1,000 yards.
Yeah. My thing would be if he'd be a touchdown dependent guy. I think that's where Dobbins, that's where I think Dobbins loses a little bit of value, is he seems to be the get you down there guy sometimes. And then Lamar Jackson and Andrews like to vulture a lot of those. So I don't know. It's a tough call. I think with it being a half-point PPR, Dobbins will ultimately catch double the amount of passes at least this year than what Madison will.
Okay.
I guess my next thing on running backs would be if you're not like if it's PPR, half-point PPR, no PPR, how much does a running back heavy draft change? Because it seems like receivers seem to be the big piece of what's getting taken in the first round in most drafts.
I mean, I think that more and more NFL teams are going by running back by committee. So when it used to be like you had a primary back and he was getting the majority of the workload, you would see running backs be the primary draft target in the early rounds, especially when you are required to start two running backs. And there's only, 32 NFL teams, and most leagues are 10 to 12 teams per league. Running backs are hard to come by. But since the league itself is going to more running back by committee, I feel like it's kind of leveled out running backs besides like one or two superstars. And if you go from no PPR to half to full PPR, really the only running backs that stay at the top are the pass catching running backs. That's why Austin Eckler and Christian McCaffrey are as good or not better than the top wide receivers.
What does Frank think?
Yeah, I mean, like Andy said, we're going away from the workhorse running backs. There's only a handful of them out there. More committees, more emphasis on the pass. So half the time, these top end running backs, they tend to be used heavily in the passing game. Otherwise, they're just not as valuable. But you're seeing more receivers early on because of the uptick in passing, and you can spread the ball around. So you're getting, two or three receivers having closer to 1,000 yards, whereas you're only getting one running back around the 1,000 yard neighborhood. So you're definitely it makes them more valuable, but at the same time harder to find. And people are I feel like the strategy's shifted away from running backs just because they're harder to come by, so people are not reaching like they used to. Like the first round of a draft used to be heavily running backs, and now you're seeing more wide receivers because, like I said, people aren't going to reach for them.
I think it's tough for me because the league I was in last year, the same one that I'm drafting at the 6th spot right now this year. Last year's was only a 10-team league. This is a little bit more competitive one, so it's 12. But the guy who won it was absolutely stacked at running back. He had four really good ones. His fourth one that he wound up sitting at the end was Dameon Pierce. But he had Ramondre Stevenson. God, who are his other two? He had Ramondre Stevenson, Derrick Henry, and Nick Chubb. And he dominated. Whereas for me, I went running back heavy right away, not realizing how big of the PPR difference it was going to make. So I wound up taking Jonathan Taylor, Javonte Williams, and Saquon Barkley. So it's like I thought I was in good shape. But then when my best receivers after that were like Mike Williams type guys that wound up getting hurt, I got like killed in weeks by other teams that had like the Jefferson, Tyreek Hill paired up together. Like they destroyed my wide receivers. And ultimately my running backs, Jonathan Taylor and Javonte, both being hurt, absolutely killed me.
Yeah, if they stay healthy, you're looking okay. But, to lose some of that early draft capital like you did, you just can't come back from it unless you get lucky.
Yeah. And I was lucky Saquon Barkley was there in the 30 and he wound up rebounding and having the year he had. But
Yeah. That's just fantasy bad luck, having both those guys go down.
so bridging onto that, who are your ultimately if you're in the first round, I don't care if you're saying pick 1 or pick 10 or pick 12. How many wide receivers are you taking before you take the best running back? Or how many running backs are you taking before you take the best wide receiver? Like, let's say you're sitting there at pick 1. Are you taking Jamar and Justin Jefferson or a Cooper Kupp over a Christian McCaffrey?
Personally, I'm taking Justin Jefferson over everyone, just because the others have those injury concerns or they rely on game flow, things like that. But Justin Jefferson, it doesn't matter. He's gonna put up monster numbers, and we haven't seen too many injuries go his way yet. So Jamar was hurt a bit last year, when he missed like 5 games.
Yeah.
So it drops him down just because I want to take a McCaffrey or an Eckler. We've seen that they can be monsters, and they have more upside than Jamar. But it kind of makes them more level. So I give the edge to the running backs. But definitely a Cooper Kupp. Yeah, he's fallen on my board just a little bit, just because he will get concussions or other injuries, and it'll scare you if you're drafting first or second.
I can see that.
Yeah, if I'm looking at the first round of a PPR league, I think there's 2 running backs that I would feel confident in taking, but I would probably lean wide receiver.
You going basically Eckler or Christian McCaffrey just because of their receiving upside?
Yeah. There's some like sneaky good picks that could come later at running back. And so I would be trying to take my stab at getting a top tier wide receiver for the first round.
I think in the past,
that includes Kelsey's probably considered a wide receiver 1.
Yeah, 100%. I think the tough part, like the last couple of years, you look at like wide receivers, and there's been so many like hey, I could get this guy in the 4th or 5th round who's going to put up production to a wide receiver you might get in the 2nd or 3rd round. Where now that's shifted, where running backs are kind of that way. Because, like, I look at the average draft position for, like, Aaron Jones, or even like who did I have last year that picked up that helped? Kenneth Walker from Seattle. Both the guys catch passes. Both the guys, if they're healthy, that's their backfield essentially. And Aaron Jones is going in like the 5th round, where like people that I get it, Bijan Robinson is this flashy new toy that like I don't see Aaron Jones necessarily not putting up the same points that Bijan Robinson puts up this year, and that guy's going in the 1st round ahead of pick 9.
Right.
So it's like I'd rather sit there and do what Frank said, take Justin Jefferson and snag a guy like Garrett Wilson at the 2nd round, and then in the 4th and 5th round, grab guys like Kenneth Walker and Aaron Jones.
I mean, yeah, I could name 8 wide receivers I'd want before most running backs. Like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, that's 9 receivers right there. So, I mean, in a 12-team league, you added those top 2 running backs. You got the 12th spot, and you, yeah, there's just no way. And there's some good running backs you can find later, like Josh Jacobs caught the ball well last year. Travis Etienne, great hands, great pass catcher. They talk about Gibbs in Detroit as being a pass catching back.
I like Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yep. Miles Sanders could be like a 40 to 50 catch guy. J.K. Dobbins, like Alvin Kamara is, going to miss 3 games.
So that's an interesting bring up. Where do you draft a guy like Kamara based on the fact that he's suspended?
If I'm in full PPR, I would still draft Kamara maybe late 2nd round.
Whoa.
That's a little early.
That's a lot early.
Yeah.
Especially how are you drafting Kamara in the late 2nd round if you've got 9 wide receivers ranked higher than most of the top running backs? I mean, at this point, where do you have Kamara? You got him like in your top 5?
No. But if we're talking full PPR, then yes, I would move him to late 2nd or 3rd round. Because that's what his skill set is. He plays like wide receiver. He plays wide receiver as much as he plays running back. Like
if I was doing a running back only draft, he wouldn't be in my top 2 rounds. Kamara.
Okay.
He would get taken probably in the 3rd round of running backs.
Well, why do you
so
say
you
that?
throw in wide receivers, quarterbacks, tight ends. You're not gonna. I'm not taking him before the 4th, if not the 5th or 6th rounds.
Okay, why?
Well, like we said, we already know he's gonna miss games. You got a new quarterback in the system. You got,
but not an inexperienced quarterback.
No, not inexperienced, but somebody who
he's the most experienced quarterback in that division.
I mean, where's Derek Carr? Derek Carr's your QB 20, depending on what you're looking at. So I mean, he's nowhere near an elite stud to begin with. I don't know. I just I'm fading away from Kamara in the top 4 rounds. I think you're better off going for a guy that's not going to guarantee you 0 points for the first few weeks of the season.
I think that's the tough part. Your first 2 picks should be like your game changers for the whole season. And obviously you get unlucky injuries, but you got a guy that is not going to put up points for 3 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just, speaking on the fly here, so I could be way off.
I think if Kamara's there in the 5th round, I'll take a shot on him. I don't think I'm taking him in the first 4.
I think we should listen to Andy's advice. I mean, it worked out for you last year.
All right. The point of the podcast is not to talk shit about each other. Moving on. Did you see the depth chart that Atlanta put out?
with Bijan Robinson as running back 3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Doesn't worry me. You see it all the time with rookies. They got to earn their way.
Yeah.
think about how fast guys last year, the 2 guys that were behind him, all of a sudden started getting carries like by week 3 of the season. If he's truly the flashiest guy and the best running back on that staff, then you can't worry about that.
Yeah. I mean, he's currently going in the first round of drafts.
I don't think I'm taking him in the first round of any draft. I think that's a little ballsy. I get the upside, but again, it's completely unproven. I'd rather take a guy that I trust. I think even reaching for Bijan in the second is scary to think that the guy might not ever get the full workload at any point this season. I mean, that's the risk you run.
Yeah. We just don't know how they're going to use him. Sure.
Yeah.
And again, they don't have a ton else to use. I mean, you got Drake London, you got Kyle Pitts, and Desmond Ritter.
Who was the other running back they had last year that came on for them? They had Tyler Algier and
Tyler Algier.
I mean, they have Cordero Patterson. Cordy Patty.
They had one more though that was splitting carries with Tyler Algier for a while Cordero was hurt. I think I honestly had both of them on my team at one point.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's worth being worried about. I think Bijan's the best of the group. I think he'll end up getting the majority of the work. I just think it's funny what NFL teams do.
I think it's enough to scare some people out of taking him in the first round.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to me to see anybody who now has that news who hasn't drafted a team already, with his ADP being like the 9th pick in the first round, seeing where that is now that depth chart came up.
Yeah. I mean, if you're in a dynasty league, I understand. If you're in a keeper league, being the one who gets to control them, but not in any standard format league. Would I be putting Bijan above Saquon Barkley or Jonathan Taylor or Nick Chubb right now? Like,
I might put him ahead of Jonathan Taylor only because of the worries of what Jonathan Taylor with the contract thing is. But if you knew he was playing, then no, I'm not putting him ahead of those guys.
The other depth chart that I thought was interesting was the Eagles. They picked up DeAndre Swift and Rashad Penny in the offseason. And I believe Kenneth Gainwell is listed as the first string running back out of Philly.
If I'm looking at ESPN's depth chart for the Eagles, they list DeAndre Swift number 1.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure which depth chart we're going off of, but yeah, that would be interesting to see him not already earn that spot. I'm not sure what they paid him, but
yep, I'm looking at 2 Eagles specific websites, and it says Kenneth Gainwell first in both.
Interesting. Maybe because he's the most experienced Philly back.
This is interesting on their website. On PhiladelphiaEagles.com, their depth chart lists all of Kenneth Gainwell, Rashad Penny, Boston Scott, Trey Sermon, and DeAndre Swift as the first running back.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought I saw. I thought they listed 5 running backs as the first string running back.
Yep. And then poor Kennedy Brooks is the only one listed other for running back.
But from what I've heard is Kenneth Gainwell is getting the majority of first string snaps.
I mean, he knows the offense the best. They trust him.
Mm-hmm. What does that mean for fantasy football teams, though? Like, how does that change your draft strategy?
I still think that DeAndre Swift is their best option if he's healthy. I didn't trust him when he had the full job with the Lions, and I definitely don't trust him now. Like, if he's hanging around in the 6th or 7th round and I needed a running back flyer, I'd take him. But I'm not banking on that guy being one of my 2 or 3 running backs on my roster.
I like Gainwell. I always have. That being said, I don't think he's a bell cow back. So I mean, it's not going to bump him up a ton, if at all. I think that your main guy is going to be DeAndre Swift, and then you're going to see Gainwell used heavily, but not heavily enough to warrant taking in the first 8 rounds. Maybe I could see him going around the 8th, 9th, 10th rounds. And Swift probably deserves to be in around the round 4 or 5.
And I think Rashad Penny winds up being what he was last year, where he's a handcuff in case one of them gets hurt.
Yeah, I mean, Penny's not too enticing.
No.
Unless DeAndre Swift gets hurt or something like that. But
yeah, and with Jalen Hurts just vulturing 10 touchdowns a year already.
Yeah, hurts your running backs.
Yeah. So I don't see any of their Eagles running backs going sooner than the 8th round.
Yeah. Somebody will take Swift just off his name, but
yeah,
I'm not doing it
earlier. But in our league, I imagine he might get kept. But
yeah.
Actually, the owner for Swift is downstairs. We could call him up.
Have a guest star. So is there any other running backs that are causing you guys concern or you have questions about, or like are they ranked too high or ranked too low?
I kind of don't know why Derrick Henry's being kind of pushed down. I know he dealt with that injury last year, which is the first time he's been hurt, but he also caught the most passes of any year that he's been in, and they've clearly planned on doing the same thing with him this year. So I'm like, if you get a healthy Derrick Henry with the fact that he's going to catch passes again, I don't know why he's kind of rated as low as he is. Like, he'd be a guy in the back end of the first round. If he's sitting there, God forbid he was there in the early second round, I'd be like happy as hell to grab him there.
Definitely. I think he's ranked higher, obviously, in standard leagues. People still have that like view of him that he doesn't catch a ton of passes, which is probably accurate. What do you have? I mean,
33.
he set a career high last year with 33, but is he going to repeat that, or is he going to regress back down to his being in the teens again, like he's always been? And then it's really not much. There's almost no game change there. So he's probably where he needs to be. If somebody has a running back need, they'll take him at the tail end of the first round, but otherwise he'll likely go before the end of definitely the first half of the second round.
So would you rather take Bijan Robinson than Derrick Henry if he's sitting there at your pick?
For me, yeah, I'll take Bijan Robinson over him. But like I said, Bijan gets a tick up because he doesn't have a ton of talent around him. So I feel like they're going to use him similarly to how Saquon was used his rookie season.
Yeah, I could see that.
And, he put up monster numbers. So
where do you take Javonte Williams right now?
Well, I'm keeping him unless you want to trade for him. But I think he's undervalued right now. But that's because people aren't sure how well he's recovered from his injuries. So, yeah, I mean, I liked what he showed his rookie season. So if he rebounds to that and has a full workload as a bell cow back, he could end up at the end of the season being top 10 running back. He's got that skill set. So
Yeah,
we'll
I
have to
think
wait
he's
and
being
see.
way undervalued.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's hard to go off the rankings, but right now I'm seeing that he's running back 26 for a half PPR, which,
Yeah, I got him at 28.
yeah, I mean, that's an RB3, high end RB3. And like I said, could easily see him finish as an RB1 or high end RB2. So
Right.
I think he's being undervalued for sure.
I'd
His
be really
ADP
happy.
is like 28, and yet his fantasy points are projected for 16th. Like, that's such a discrepancy.
Yeah.
I'd be
So
really happy to get a guy like that if I was sitting there in the 3rd or 4th round and he's still there.
Oh, for sure. And I think he will be there in the third for almost anyone to take.
Yeah.
If not he probably won't go before the beginning of the 4th round. I mean, for drafts happening this week, that could shoot up with any news throughout the week. But
Yeah. Have you guys heard of the concept of like the running back dead zone?
why don't you explain that to us?
It's like the elite running backs are all gone. And I think it's around round 6. And that you're better off taking the best wide receiver available in that spot. Maybe it's like rounds 5, 6, and 7. Because then it's just kind of more random who might turn out to be the better running back that year. Um, I don't know the exact definition of the running back dead zone, but it's a drafting strategy of like, don't worry, all the elite running backs have already gone. Running backs are interchangeable for the most part after that. Like, focus on picking up like your QB, your tight end, or like the best
it
strength wide
depends.
receiver rather than draft a running back in those rounds.
To me, it depends. To me, it depends on what else you have on your team already. If I've got 2 running backs I feel okay with, and that running back dead zone spot pops up, I'm taking anything else besides running back.
Right. If you had used your 3 of your first 4 round picks on wide receivers, then you kind of need to roll the dice on some of these running backs.
Yeah. Javante's an interesting story. I feel like he's way valuable than where he's going currently.
I agree 100% with that.
Yeah.
Agree 100% with that.
I could see me trading him, to be honest.
Kareem Hunt left the Vikings with no contract.
There you go. He's money hunting. This is probably going to be the last major contract he ever gets. So.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to talk about strategy for a 12-team PPR draft out of the 6th spot?
Yeah, that would be nice.
All right. I can either, have you lead the way, Jordan. Do you want to like take it some way? Do you want to like start a mock draft and kind of see who gets taken ahead of you?
I guess I could set up a mock draft.
Is it PPR or half point?
It's PPR, full point PPR. I mean, who do you guys have in a PPR league, regardless of 10 teams or 12 teams? Who are the first 5 guys that are off the board?
Who do we have them? I mean, if you're asking me, I'm going
Justin Jefferson first
yeah,
overall.
he's my top. And then you've got the next, I'll just say my top 5 in no order: Jefferson, McCaffrey, Chase, Hill, Cup, or Kelsey or Eckler. Those are definitely my top 7, but it depends on position preference. Some people just will not take a tight end in the first round.
I will take Travis Kelsey if he's there. I won't make that mistake again.
I feel better about taking Kelsey if I'm picking late in the first round, picks 10, 11, or 12.
Yeah.
Just so that way I'm almost guaranteed to come back around and still get an elite wide receiver or running back. Otherwise, I feel like if I'm taking him top 5, like if Travis Kelsey's there at 6, and then my next pick isn't going to be until, what would that be, 17 or 18, 19? I don't feel as good picking an Olave or Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle. I mean, they're not bad picks. It just, I want that elite wide receiver or that elite running back.
I get that.
It hurts you. Like, yeah, you're going to have an edge at the tight end slot, but I just don't feel comfortable taking him in the first half of the first round.
I get that. I'm setting up a mock draft right now.
Yeah. What did Devontae Adams get injured this week?
I hope not.
I hope so. I have no shares of him.
We're starting the mock draft. First 5 picks were Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Christian McCaffrey, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill.
Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase,
Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, and Cooper Kupp.
That all makes sense to me.
You're left with that decision. Do you want to take a Travis Kelsey or roll with Austin Eckler or reach on some of these other wide receivers? I mean, they're not really a reach, so
yeah,
you know what you're getting from a Stephon Diggs, CD Lamb, Amon-Ra.
I mean, at the 6th pick,
the 6th pick is literally my least favorite.
I think we're gonna go. I think we're gonna go Travis Kelsey and see how this plays out.
Okay, going that tight end early.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so at my next pick, tight end already taken. Your 4 next best guys to take here: Amon-Ra St. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Jonathan Taylor, and Josh Jacobs.
Amon-Ra still there?
Yep.
I would be taking Amon-Ra without a doubt at that point.
That's who I like too.
Yeah, I agree.
And you had Josh Jacobs. Who else?
And Jonathan Taylor, who I don't like. I like running back. Like, I like an Aaron Jones in 4 rounds or 3 rounds from now just as well.
Yeah.
As I would like those guys.
Yeah, and I think having that elite wide receiver right now is way more important than a running back in PPR.
I agree.
So it's settled. So now, Amon-Ra.
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
What pick was that overall?
6th pick over. Oh, that would have been whatever coming back through the snake draft.
19.
Yeah.
19th overall. That's a great pick at 19.
That's a lot of value.
Third round coming around. Now you got Devontae Smith, Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones, and T. Higgins as the best available.
I mean, if you're asking me, I go Devontae Smith. He's my 20 overall.
Devonta Smith, T. Higgins,
Joe Mixon, and Aaron Jones.
I would not pick Joe Mixon right now. Joe Mixon is also in a legal battle, and don't know if he'll miss time because of that.
If he doesn't, I like Joe Mixon this year. But just because I don't ever take this strategy, we're going to go tight end, wide receiver. So we're going to go with Frank and take Devontae Smith and see what our running backs wind up looking like.
Good pick.
I think normally there I would have taken a running back.
It's a good pick. Devonta Smith caught 95 passes last year.
Yeah,
he's a stud. 1,200 yards.
5 less receptions than Devontae Adams. He happened to have half as many touchdowns as Devontae Adams and 300 less yards, but
All right, so now you get to the fourth round. You've taken Kelsey, Amon-Ra, and Devontae Smith. Now you got in the fourth round, Lamar Jackson, Miles Sanders, Kenneth Walker, and Chris Godwin are the next best options.
Say that again.
Lamar Jackson, Miles Sanders, Kenneth Walker, and Chris Godwin.
Tampa Bay scares me. Carolina scares me. The only thing that I like about Sanders is he's not really competing with anyone. So if he's back in the 40 to 50 receptions role, that would be nice. Who's your other running back choice at this point?
Kenneth Walker, and I do like Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, he had a real good season. There's a lot of targets to go around in that offense, though.
How many running backs have already been drafted in this league, in this fantasy draft?
All right, let's see. Draft board.
Sure.
16.
He had 1,000 rushing yards last year and 27 receptions on 15 games played.
So Jahmyr Gibbs is already off the board.
Yep.
ETN's
off the board.
Yeah. Right here, the way that the draft is going, I'm not going to reach for a running back. I'm either going to continue to bolster the wide receivers or take a top tier quarterback.
Is Lamar Jackson a top tier quarterback though?
Yeah.
What other quarterbacks are available?
Justin Fields, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, Herbert, I think, could be maybe the route to go here. If I had to choose between those guys, Lamar Jackson would probably be last.
Did you say Joe Burrow's gone too, or he's available?
Yeah, Burrow's gone.
Yeah, I'm taking Lamar over Justin Fields just because we haven't seen him throw the ball.
For sure. I'm taking Justin Herbert first because he's done it for 2 seasons back to back. I'd go Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields.
Now your wide receiver options are Chris Godwin, DeAndre Hopkins, Jerry Jeudy, and Terry McLaurin.
Oh, those sound
not bad, but I would just rather take a top 5
QB.
quarterback at this point because Mahomes is gone, Allen's gone, Hurts and Burrow are all gone. So you're sitting there looking at it's a point of preference too between Lamar and Herbert. Herbert's going to give you more through the air, and Lamar's going to give you his value on the ground. I tend to sway towards guys who have lower potential to get hurt at that point. So I would probably
Lamar has only had Lamar's less than 10 games where he's been like a top 10 QB in the last 2 seasons. I think.
Well, where did he finish last year?
He was hurt. I mean, that's part of the reason why, but he could easily get hurt just as easily.
Yep.
I think the safe bet is Justin Herbert.
I agree. There's a lot to like about some of these other quarterbacks. I mean, you can always hold off on getting the quarterback just because you're going to see guys like Jared Goff and Kirk Cousins, and even Geno Smith can outscore a lot of these other guys or just put up similar numbers, but their value's way down. So, I mean, Kirk Cousins isn't even he's QB 13 right now, and he finished last season as QB 7. So, I mean, you've got weapons. I don't know. You could go either way, but I just still think it's too early to reach on some of these running backs. Yeah, I'm definitely either going. Makes me want to go back and swing towards another wide receiver just to bolster that up, and then we can ignore wide receiver for the next like 5 rounds.
Yeah, so now if we take another wideout here, because now we've taken Herbert, Kelsey, Devontae Smith, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Your top running backs available now in the fifth round are Madison, Connor, J.K. Dobbins, and Damian Pierce. But if you go to wide receivers, you have DeAndre Hopkins, Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore, and Christian Watson.
Yeah. I mean, I think you need to get a starting QB or starting running back. Who are the
Jordan
QBs
took
available?
Herbert.
We got
Oh, you,
Herbert.
you took Herbert. I thought you
Yep.
went with the wide receiver. Okay.
Nope, went with Herbert. So we can either go wide out or running back here.
All right, who are our top 5 running back options?
Running back options are Madison, Connor, J.K. Dobbins, and Damian Pierce.
James Conner all the way.
And then Cam Akers.
I like the potential that James Conner has. There's absolutely nobody competing with him for the starting role. He's a 3-down back, and he can catch the ball.
I
He
agree
had
with that.
46 receptions last year. Getting James Conner in the 5th round seems like a very safe bet.
Yeah, it's not a bad place to start grabbing running backs. There are other options there. I mean, there's probably Javonte Williams. There's probably Isaiah Pacheco, some other guys, but I say we grab Connor and see who's there in the 6th
Well,
round.
who's there in the next round is Javonte Williams is still here.
Right.
We took James Conner. Madison, Dobbins, and Cam Akers are all still there as well ahead of Javonte, but I like Javonte more than any of them.
I agree.
Let's look at what we.
He's available in the 6th
if you
round.
can get, yeah, if you can get Javonte Williams, like Frank said, possible RB1 or RB2 if he stays healthy and comes back, and you grab him in the 6th round.
Yep.
All right, so now our team, we're going into the 7th round. Isaiah Pacheco is there. Antonio Gibson, James Cook, David Montgomery are the running backs. Your wideouts.
Did you take Javonte?
Yeah. So right now the team is Justin Herbert, Amon-Ra, Devontae Smith, James Conner, Javonte Williams, and Travis Kelce.
I think that's a sexy start.
Mm-hmm.
And now you got guys here in the 7th round. Christian Kirk, Mike Evans, Jahan Dotson, Jordan Addison, and George Pickens are your top options still at wideout. If you wanted to go running back again, you've got David Montgomery, James Cook, Isaiah Pacheco, Antonio Gibson, and AJ.
I like going Montgomery if you want another running back, but if you're going to go the wide receiver route, read your top ones again.
Christian Kirk, Mike Evans, Jahan Dotson, Jordan Addison, and George Pickens.
Yeah, I'm going either Mike Evans or Pickens.
Mike Evans is still there?
Yeah.
Mike Evans, he's going to give you 1,000 yards. Locking it.
That's who we're going to pick because we only got 5 minutes left.
He's going to put up a wide receiver 2 numbers. So,
yeah,
to get him in the 7th round is pretty sexy too.
All right, so now you probably want to go back and take another running back. You got Antonio Gibson in the 8th round, A.J. Dillon, Brian Robinson Jr., Khalil Herbert, and Rashard Penny.
Of those, I like Herbert. Top.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. Who are our wide receiver options?
Wide receiver options are Treylon Burks, Brandon Cooks, Gabe Davis, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Elijah Moore are the top 5.
I think I still like Montgomery, or not Montgomery, Herbert.
Khalil.
Herbert.
Yeah.
I like Herbert too.
Okay. What round is that?
That was round 8.
Okay. Let's do 2 more rounds and then call it a wrap.
Okay. All right. Now you're sitting there in round 9, probably going back to wideout. Brandon Cooks, Elijah Moore, Michael Thomas, Quentin Johnston, or Rashad Bateman are the top 5.
I'd lean towards Johnson.
I like Quentin Johnston.
What else we got?
Too.
What are running backs?
I think Elijah Moore's worth a discussion there. But yeah, Quentin Johnston.
Running backs, you're looking at Penny, Jamal Williams, Damian Harris, Charbonnet, Jerick McKinnon, all backup guys.
Yeah, I'm not. Give me wide receivers all day. For the next 3 rounds, give me wide receivers, and then I'll start rolling the dice on some rookies with upside.
All right, we took Quentin Johnston. Now you got Sky Moore, Nico Collins, Rondell Moore, Zay Jones, Tyler Boyd.
Did Elijah Moore get drafted?
Yes, he did. I like Nico Collins this year as a guy this late.
Yeah, I mean, take a guy you like.
Who's the starter? He's not the first string depth chart wide receiver at Houston, is he?
He should be now that Brandon Cooks is gone. You've got the rookie Tank Dell, who should be their slot guy, but
yeah, he might be the number 1 option in Houston, right? Somebody's got to be number 1. John Mechie III and Robert Woods is who they have. Who are our other wide receiver choices?
Rondell Moore, Zay Jones, Tyler Boyd, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Hunter Renfrow.
Yeah. Nothing. Just I would rather have the number 1 wide receiver on the team, I think. But I mean, Rondell Moore should be a decent pick too if he can stay healthy and stop dropping the ball, which are some big ifs. All right. Make the pick, and we'll call it a day.
Yep. We are good now.
That's a good draft. We can analyze it next time if you like, but
lock it in.
Lock it in.
Winning team.
I like it. Starting lineup of Justin Herbert, James Conner, Javonte Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Devontae Smith, Travis Kelce, and Mike Evans.
It's not bad.
Sick.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, boy. That helps me for thinking how our draft is going to go a week from now when we have to
go nothing like that. They never do.
Thanks for joining us on Touchdown Nerdcast.
Yep.
We will catch you next time.
Bye.